Are we all on the same page that there's no shame in a little gas station food?
Say so, sure.
Depends on what the gas station food is.
You're a little dependent on the item.
Yeah, like if it's sushi, then no. But if it's
Oh,
like
no.
a hot dog, then maybe.
Okay, all right. Yeah, no, I don't think I've ever even seen gas station sushi. I think, regardless,
It will kill
uh, I
you.
went into I went into a gas station. The name rhymes with Merkel Bay, and I found hot dog buns with mold on them.
And you ate them, right?
Yeah, no. And this was before work because it was right. There's a Merkel K, Circle K, and a 7-Eleven right by my work, and I kind of alternate between the two for when I need a little extra energy, a little boost. I went to the Circle K, saw the mold. I got so grossed out that I left. And then at work that day, I just kicked myself like, damn it, I probably could have pulled a gambit with that. So I went back. The mold was still there. No one had noticed. I was like, I could have just bought it and had a case, but they would have seen it. So I just brought it to the front desk and I said, "Hey, I don't know if you noticed this. You probably want to throw this away." And he was like, "Oh, thank you." And he throws it away, and I'm like, "All right." I get my big Diet Coke I usually get after work. Still, I'm kind of expecting to be offered to walk out with it for free. I don't know if that's unreasonable, but I could have gotten them in big trouble. But I did pay for my Diet Coke that day.
And you found mold in the Diet Coke.
That is actually a fear that I have now. I don't know if I'm going back to that Circle K.
It's all about the ice, man. I'm telling you. Just watch the ice. They put flies and shit in there.
And Dav knows because he was a registered Circle K fly putting in ice dude.
No, that was at McDonald's.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to dox your place of work like that?
Yeah, McDonald's. Good luck. Good luck figuring out which one.
What's one thing you could share as a former McDonald's employee that would get people to stop eating at McDonald's?
I don't. Yeah, I think that all of the bad things about McDonald's have already been said. So if you're still eating at McDonald's, I don't think anything's really going to change that. But I will say that um, none of the employees wash their hands. They are touching things that will make your food probably not very appetizing. And yeah, especially during the warmer seasons, the ice cubes have, I'd say like one in every 6 ice cubes will have a full ass fly corpse freezed into it.
Jesus
Jesus.
Christ.
Anyone spit in food?
Uh, well, it's happened, but like if you get caught, you're getting fired. Like I knew
Dav's
people
like,
who
of course
tried
I
it.
know him. He's me.
Yeah, I
You
knew I
have
knew
that.
people who got fired for it.
I don't know why. I just picture like they thinking it's really cool, and their boss is just like right behind them. Like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, like that doesn't fly. That's how you get a restaurant shut down. So they're not fucking around with that.
No, of course. Bill, do you remember our friend from high school who I'm not gonna dox, but they worked at Subway, and on the last day they just spat in every ingredient before leaving?
Oh, yeah. Wonder how they're doing.
Yeah.
Rev up those fryers and fill those champagne glasses to the tippy top. It's West Coast Toast and Roast with Tommy, Will, and Dav. Welcome back to West Coast Toast and Roast. I spat in your cornflakes. It's me, Tommy.
And I am the cornflakes. It's me. It's Will.
And I used to work at McDonald's, but it didn't give me diabetes. I just got diabetes naturally, and I'm Dav.
You didn't get diabetes naturally, Dad, but we're not telling that story on
We're not
here.
gonna tell that one here. That's for the patrons whenever that happens, I guess.
And
You want the
donate
saucy
$100
details.
per month. You can hear how David got diabetes.
Donate $100 a month. You can hear Tommy's joystick story. Don't know what that means? You better shell out, because he's not saying here.
I don't remember that. I don't know if I want to know.
Will, do you know that one?
I mean, there could be multiple ones. God, yeah.
We all watched Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which seems like everybody's favorite Marvel movie, but it kind of just reaffirmed that I don't like these fucking movies, and this is no different.
Yeah, at first I was kind of like, man, I gotta give it an 8. It's Sam Raimi and Marvel. Like, how could I not? But then as soon as I sat on it, I'm like, man, I'm not sure I like that at all.
No,
Um,
I'll stick by my rating for I think I gave it a 6.
I'd probably agree with that because I think like there are some really cool Raimi shots, like the MJ car montage with Wanda when she's like sitting there and things are kind of hyperimposed on each other. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, when she's like meditating, kind of.
Yeah, well, I think it's shot in a very unique way, and I like that. But I mean, it should be. I mean, its title doesn't lie. It is a multiverse of madness because they go to like one,
Yeah.
not the multi. It just kind of wastes its concept.
Well, they go to what I call the Pussyverse because it seems like all of the heroes there are extremely weak compared to like the main MCU, and they haven't really had to put up with all that much because like they beat Thanos, it seems like pretty easily,
Yeah,
and then Wanda comes in and hands hands their asses to them and like it's nothing.
To be fair, just from my comic knowledge, Wanda genuinely is one of the strongest Marvel characters. Like, not even, I guess, not even taking the movies into account, she can bend reality with a word. So I wasn't that surprised by how powerful she was, but I will also say with that does come the issue that when you want to portray her as this looming horror villain, but you show she can kill people as easily as she does in the Illuminati bit, it kind of stops making sense that she even has to chase America Chavez.
Yeah, exactly.
especially because like she killed Black Bolt. It's been out for a while. She killed Black Bolt pretty instantly, and then she struggles with Captain Carter.
Yeah.
Like, how does that remotely, even Mr. Fantastic, she turned him into spaghetti. Why didn't she just like blow their heads up or something? Like, I get to, the excuses to make the movie happen, but when you have someone like that and express that she can do whatever she wants, like,
She
there's
did.
no real conflict except to escape.
She did seem a little like she wanted to let Peggy off easy if she could. Like she was saying, she said something like, "You can walk away if you want to." Not to be the guy constantly jumping in to defend this movie because I think I liked it the least of all of us, but
I will say it was really annoying. I saw it opening night because, I wanted to support my boy Sam Raimi.
uh,
And every time Wanda did anything, there was this annoying fucking asshole behind me who would like clap and cheer. Like when she, killed Reed Richards, they were just like, "Oh yay!" When she like killed Professor X with like after he did nothing, they were just cheering. It's like, dude, do you really like her that much? Shut up.
this guy's been a big Lizzie Olsen stan since the Mary Kate and Ashley days.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
Um, so I've been under the how do I put this? I've been studying Raimi pretty closely. That's a pretentious way to put it. I've been watching a lot of
Watching
Raimi.
his movies.
Yeah, because a podcast I follow is reviewing films by director, going one by one in their filmography. That's Blank Check. It's one of my favorite podcasts, and they're doing Raimi at the moment to coincide with Multiverse. So watching all of his movies recently, he is someone who thrives in practicality and small means. That's what makes Evil Dead and Darkman so good, in my opinion. So when he's drowning in the Marvel CGI, I failed to even really find his fingerprints, is the unfortunate thing. Like, every time this movie wanted to be scary, I fucking laughed. I thought it wasn't scary or Raimi fucking out.
Yeah.
When they do the sting with Steven's third eye on his forehead like 5 different times, I was like, I was sick to fucking death of it.
Yeah, I think it shows like objectively, some of the best Marvel films are Spider-Man 1 and 2, and that's when Raimi had complete control.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's always like he has to, have a small budget, but because like he clearly likes the characters, but this is not his script. He was just given it.
I just know there's so much documentation that when Raimi talks about Spider-Man, his eyes light up. He adores Spider-Man. I don't know if he necessarily feels the same way about Doctor Strange. He very well could. I just don't know. I did not get that impression from this film. My boy Shuma Garoth was in that for 5 minutes, and he would never get his eye poked out. I'm just saying. There's something else.
He can talk.
He can talk. Yeah. There's something else I feel like I wanted to touch on. Someone described this movie as WandaVision DLC, where Sam Raimi could tilt the camera a couple times, and I think that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, when I think Dav told me when Sam Raimi directed the movie, it was pretty good, but Sam Raimi didn't direct the whole movie, it felt like.
Well, okay, let me ask, what big chunks of the movie did you guys feel were particularly Raimi? Because I could barely even
Zombie
decipher.
Strange.
Sorry. Again, like
there's also
the scary.
There's
sorry. You go on.
I was gonna say there's a scene that's literally a direct reference to Evil Dead, where like there's the door shots of the door closing, and like Wanda comes out of the mirror as a like looking like a deadite.
Oh, and she like kind of Hisakos out of the mirror on all fours.
Yeah.
That was kind of a cool scene. I did kind of nod at that one.
I think we can all agree that the highlight was Mr. Pizza Papa.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think, Tommy, do you remember who that is?
Is that Bruce Campbell?
Yeah.
It's Pizza Papa.
Yeah. Played the
that was funny that they referenced Evil Dead 2 in that. Like, taking the movie out of context, that was pretty funny.
I guess.
And I do also think it was funny how the ending is literally, like, the after credit scene is Bruce Campbell looking into the camera and saying, "It's over!"
Or you mean the post-credit scene where the 15th Marvel hero that nobody's ever heard of, that Marvel stans are going to pretend to know and be excited about, shows up?
See, when I saw she had, like, the pink stuff, I'm like, oh my god, that's Psylocke. And then I looked it up and it's, like, someone named Claire or someone.
Yeah.
Scrooge, I'm the ghost of Christmas way future.
Anyways,
I guess my review of this movie is that I cannot remember the last time I got up from my seat to use the restroom watching a film, and I did during this movie. And because normally I'm like, even if I'm not enjoying it, I'm like, but I don't want to miss something. But when Doctor Strange and America Chavez go to her universe and they find the backstory machine, that's when I'm like, all right, I think I can go take a piss.
Yeah.
All right.
Some weird world building too, just overall. They're kind of getting sloppy with the multiverse thing. I feel like it's going to get out of hand.
Yeah, I mean, it worked in Spider-Man because, it was a bunch of characters coming to that universe, but when you go to others, you've got to make them interesting, not just like, wow, the traffic lights are reversed in this.
Traffic lights are reversed, the food is free. Isn't it weird how you have to pay for food in your universe? I mean, most universes you don't even have to pay for food. It's like, what does that even mean? There are infinite universes. I don't understand.
I was like, and it's almost more disappointing to me that I'm not in on, because I was like, you know what? I haven't seen a Marvel movie in theater since Endgame. Raimi's a good director. Maybe this will bring me back. And it's still just like, there's just that je ne sais quoi of like the conversations follow, exposition, sly comment. Exposition, how long did it take you to think of that? Like, it made me sick. I could not stand it. It's still just
extremely formulaic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm almost more mad I'm left out of the party. Everyone's having so much fun with these movies, and I'm almost like, I'm tapping out. I can't do this. Wake me when
I
Kate
have-
Bishop comes back. I don't know.
I have fun when they make something good. Like No Way Home, I still think is really good. I've rewatched it multiple times now, and I think it still holds up. But this is not more than one watch sort of movie.
Ugh. We ready
Also,
to...
I think they directly contradict themselves in one scene, just where, isn't the implication that the other universes are things that you dream about?
I have no...
Yeah.
How do Toby and Andrew fit into that exactly?
Yeah, did fucking our Marvel Cinematic Universe Peter dream of putting on black clothes and dancing?
Because I mean, who's dreaming about those universes? I don't understand.
Is that what? I don't know what you mean. I'm sure that's something I just missed in my selective viewing.
Well,
It's established that in this universe, when you dream, that's what's happening in another universe. Like,
yeah.
so like,
Oh, so it's when Stephen Strange in his beautiful bedroom.
Yeah, and it's implied that it applies to literally everybody in the universe because America is one of the only people who doesn't dream, so that's how she knows she only exists in one universe at a time.
There's a lot of alternate universes where I'm in a play I didn't bother memorizing my lines for them.
Somebody on Twitter was just like, how many universes are there where I'm having sex with my dad?
I have got to get my dick sucked.
dick suck.
That just goes back to what I was saying about they're getting sloppy with the world building and like they're explaining too much about the multiverse and it's going to cause a lot of issues inevitably, and it already is.
Well, good thing I won't be there to watch them.
Tommy, you act like you're gonna die.
I'm gonna die if I don't get another Marvel work with Kate Bishop in it. Stat!
Kevin Feige is gonna go to Tommy's house and just be like, "I warned you, Sherman."
Oh,
now you got.
Can we fucking talk about how Elizabeth Olsen was like throwing Marvel movies under the bus puts hundreds of people at risk, and that's for Scorsese and Ford Coppola. When she shit talks Marvel so fucking much. Like, she's the one saying, like, every time I watch a Marvel movie, I don't know how they're good. I'm convinced they'll be the first flop. And I'm pissed I didn't get to be in The Lobster because of Marvel. And now you're up on that high horse that the highest grossing franchise has to be, like, coddled like a baby. Get out of town, Elizabeth Olsen.
I mean, I think she should be glad she's not in The Lobster.
I'll roast for... And I'm the lobster. Colin Farrell ever say that in that movie?
I can't remember. I've kind of put it out of my mind because it's stupid and it shouldn't exist. And anyone who thinks it's good is kidding themselves.
All right, are we ready for Will's first top of the day?
Sure. What were the other two movies we watched?
Chippendale
and Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I mean, Chippendale, I think it's just like, it's forgettable. It's a little mean-spirited at times, but I think ultimately, like, doesn't really need to exist.
I think it's genuinely terrible.
I think
just awful on all levels.
It bums me out because Akiva Schaffer is such a is one of my favorite comedic directors. He did Hot Rod, Popstar, and I Think You Should Leave. And just like Sam Raimi with Multiverse of Madness, I can't even find his fingerprints anywhere on this.
It's just nothing but observational comedy.
I mean, the comedy comes from, hey, look at this character. Cute laugh track.
Isn't that crazy how we just did that? Oh, did you really just say that? Oh, is he stressed like that? I can't believe this.
It's weird because, like, I do think some of the hand-drawn in that is good. Was it really so hard to do that for the main character? Instead, they did like this monkey paw Spiderverse style that just looks like
it's a hideous,
PS1 game.
This awful cel-shaded thing. Oh man, Peter Pan looks so bad. Like Chip looks bad. Peter Pan actively revolts me every time he's on screen.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean Sweet Pete?
Pete.
No, and for those of you that don't know at home, and I don't think anyone is like, you spoiled Chip and Dale for us. Peter Pan is the villain, and the deal is he grew up, and Disney, I guess it's implied that it's Disney, didn't want him anymore, so he got all depressed and like became evil, which is a little screwed up because that happened to the actual voice of Peter Pan.
Bobby Driscoll.
So it's like, what are you like? It almost feels like they're either making fun of it or they're like, man, look at what we did. That was pretty bad.
And either way you read Disney's intentions with that, it's still just not very funny, you know? Like,
yeah.
Like, there's a lot of debate over, well, maybe Disney should draw attention to their past mistakes. Well, maybe it was in poor taste. I'm ultimately just like, it's just not very good, guys. Like, anyone could write what if Peter Pan got mean and fat? Come on.
I'm sure that is a choice that somebody on the writing team made to, like, specifically call attention to it. Because, I mean, otherwise, why would you choose Peter Pan to be the villain of all the characters in Disney's history? Why would you choose Peter Pan and that story?
Akiva's original script was that the villain would be Pluto the dog because Chip and Dale messed with him in the old shorts. Which I don't think is a good idea per se, but like, you can see where someone started to meddle.
Yeah. I also think that for like the animations, like why some of them are good, I really think that they had just tons of animators doing like the background stuff.
Yeah.
So some of them are good and some of them are Linda from Phineas and Ferb.
There's a bit towards the start where they're flashing back to the filming of an episode of Rescue Rangers, and they emulate the style to the point that I thought they were just showing a clip from an episode. Then it carries on long enough I realize it's an original bit, and they emulate the style like pitch perfectly. So why did the guy who did that scene, I'm assuming in a non-unionized shit pay manner, not get to mitigate any of the other dumb shit that was going on there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, it'd be really funny. You know, Monterey Jack, he's kind of a goofy character. He loves cheese. What if we, like, made it kind of edgy, like he was an addict? I don't think anyone's thought of that before. Pretty good,
That's hilarious. That's just absolutely hilarious.
Pretty epic. Like, that one's for the grown-ups at home. They get that.
What if we put a Muppet in the movie, but we animated the Muppet instead of having an actual Muppet?
You're saying you could tell that Muppet character was actually CGI?
I could tell the moment he started moving that was a CG Muppet.
It's a town. I mean, I love Muppets as much as the next guy. I don't think that they belong in a cartoon town just by like technicality.
There were Muppets. There was a sock puppet. They did just all sorts of different things.
Yeah, claymation.
Claymation.
When the claymation, J.K. Simmons claymation police chief gets to fight, they do some admittedly kind of creative choreography with him. He's like the fucking T-1000.
J.K. Simmons is the only good thing about that movie.
Yeah.
Kind of great. Alright, we can probably leave that one. Should we just knock out everything everywhere too while we're here?
Sure.
Alright, we'll just knock out, everything.
I mean, it's no Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but it's okay.
There's like an article that was like, everything everywhere all at once, and Multiverse of Madness performances prove people love movies about the multiverse. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Everything everywhere was pretty good, but it would be real good if a bald guy came in a wheelchair and
Oh gosh. Everything everywhere all pretty mid. Like what? Pretty like you see low effort movies sometimes. Like what? 6 out of 10.
You trying to get a reaction out of me?
Yes. I love this movie.
This is my favorite movie of the year and one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's fucking awesome. I love it.
Unironically, it's amazing.
It's very creative, yeah.
I do agree that it does have some pacing issues where it seems to drag on a little bit, but I can easily forgive those because it's such a good movie overall.
Here's the thing. It's an 8 out of 10 for me, and it is a powerful 8. It would be a 9 or a 10 if they hadn't tried to explain like if there was none of the bits of the guys in the van who log in and find the universe. I don't need any of the explanation and shit. Just like if you're gonna embrace chaos, embrace chaos. That's where the main pacing problems came from, in my opinion. And when they throw that away and just go hog wild, that's when it really starts to hit its stride.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in with you. When I was watching it, I was like, oh man, at the beginning, I'm like, this is gonna be a 9 out of 10. But I do think like that, and sometimes they just kind of stop to talk. That kind of gets in the way of like me enjoying it to the fullest. That being said, I really love this concept of the multiverse, and I think, oh my gosh, I can't remember her name for the life of me.
Michelle Yeoh.
The main actress.
Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, she is incredible in this movie.
She's really good.
She is. I really like the and Tommy knows this. One of my favorite archetypes is like the aging hero, or like an older character. So her character was right up my alley, and there were times when just like her on her own, I was like, this is my favorite part of the movie, even more so than some of the action.
I heard apparently originally Jackie Chan was in mind for the lead, and love Jackie, no disrespect for Jackie, that's an entirely different movie, and I'm glad that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, bonus points for the fucking Space Odyssey reference too. That was awesome.
Oh man. I will say this movie, I feel like anyone who missed out on seeing this in a theater is not going to have the same experience too. This is something you kind of have to see on a big screen, I feel like.
I don't think so.
Come on, the part where it's just the rocks. It's just like silent in that big scope. I think that's amazing.
I mean, what I'm saying is
wasn't particularly loud.
Yeah, what I'm saying is I don't think people are going to watch it at home and be like, man, this sucks. I think they're going to get relatively the same experience. Obviously, everything's better in a theater.
True. Okay.
Yeah.
We're pretty much on the same page then.
Except children's movies.
Have you seen
I don't need to see Sonic 2 in the theater again.
Have you seen that, I think, Clickhole article where it's like, thank God, the penguins in this animated film have broken into a dance party to Everybody Dance Now, meaning this movie's almost over.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. I really like the part, can I be a simp for a second?
No.
Sure.
Jenny Slate's in this movie, and
okay.
She wields her Pomeranian on a leash as a weapon, and
oh, that's fucking hilarious.
I really like that part.
This
and that's why Tommy's no longer allowed in that theater.
What were you gonna say, Dav?
I was just saying the movie does humor like really well. The comedy is great.
When Detective Crashmore shows up.
Oh yeah.
And the best thing about its humor too is that it calls back. It's never just a joke. They call back to like the phallic award on the lady's desk to fucking Ratatouille. It's always for something pretty great.
Yeah, I mean the jokes that you think are just going to be throwaway jokes pretty much always have something like
some plot relevance.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's I mean, I was gonna say the Ratatouille thing is like probably one of my favorite. Like, that's probably one of the things that cemented this as like a 10 out of 10 for me, because it's like it is such a stupid, dumb joke. Especially when they first say it, you're like, oh, haha, this is some like a funny character humor and some references. They bring it back and they make it like in such a way that you are emotionally invested in the story of Ratatouille. And, like you're like rooting for the characters to like reunite with each other, and you're like, oh man, I really hope they rescue Ratatouille from PETA or whatever. And it's like, and then you realize you're like, why the hell am I getting emotionally invested in a Ratatouille reference? And I don't know, that it's like it's something that really like plays along with the movie's message about nothing matters but everything matters, like the anti-nihilism thing.
Totally. And
It's like, this is something you probably shouldn't care about, but we're going to make you care about it anyway, and that's the film's message.
it's about like just the most purely unconditional kindness, which is kindness in the midst of awareness that it doesn't matter. Because like you got shit like whenever it's multiverse something with Rick and Morty or some Justice League stories that handle multiverse, it comes around to nihilism. But this one basically uses that same reasoning to insist that that the most pure idea of kindness and humanity is being aware that there's no point to it and going through with kind actions anyway. And I think that's a wonderful message.
Yeah. I hate nihilism, and I hate what Rick and Morty has done to a lot of people's minds in regards to nihilism. People getting the absolute wrong message of nothing matters, let's make everybody's lives worse. And
well, it's one of those characters that, like, you know, you're not supposed to idolize Rick, and that's what people do.
Exactly.
Like, you're missing the point by idolizing them starter pack. Rick Sanchez, Scott Pilgrim, and Ratatouille.
Walter White.
And
who else, Will?
I was trying to think of one, but I couldn't. I was trying to think of a joke answer.
And Slippin' Jimmy, the new animated series.
Wait, what?
They're making an animated spin-off of Better Call Saul called Slippin' Jimmy, about him when he was like a kid or something, and he was doing his like insurance scams.
Really?
Yeah, it looks awful. It looks absolutely atrocious.
I think it genuinely is animated, right?
Yes.
I think I saw it. It looks like fucking like a modern Comedy Central show with like the really realistic rigs.
That art style and all of that. I don't know why they would taint the methverse with this hogwash.
The methverse. Did seeing that make you fall to your knees while clutching your chest in the New Mexico desert?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Will, are you ready for first top of this meeting?
Let's do it. Okay, so I want to preface this by saying this is the heaviest roast I've ever given out on this podcast.
Sorry.
I think I know what it's for, too.
Yeah, this is one of the movies in recent memory that I just absolutely despise, and that is Men.
Sorry.
So the thing is, I love Alex Garland. I think Ex Machina is really good. I think Annihilation is impeccable. But the thing is, his strength lies in creating these really rich metaphors and then making them work as a regular story too. Like, Annihilation is obviously a metaphor for cancer. It works as a cancer metaphor, but if you take all of that out, it still works as a cosmic horror film, and that's what makes it so good. Men is the opposite. It does not work as a regular story. It only works as a metaphor. If you take the metaphor out, it is completely incomprehensible. And it's a stupid metaphor. It does not have anything beyond to say besides men are bad. Which is weird because, you know, Alex Garland is a dude. So what exactly, like...
He's trying to show he's not like those other dudes.
Exactly. I mean, basically. I mean, the thing is, first of all, the music is great. It's done by the dude who did Annihilation. But the ending of this movie is so incomprehensible, it doesn't make sense unless you apply it to the metaphor. A movie should, and I'm gonna die on this fucking hill, a movie should make sense on its own. It should make sense. You should be like, this advances the story. But at the ending, it does not work unless you know that this is a metaphor for men being evil.
I think that go ahead.
I was just
gonna.
I don't have much to add. Sorry.
I was just going to say, and like, the actors do a really good job, but there's just nothing good about this movie. It's just a metaphor for something that, you know, is basically already been said a million times. It doesn't add anything new to the table, and like, it doesn't even really do anything interesting with it. Like, everyone's like, oh, it's about toxic masculinity. But at the same time, it doesn't really say anything new besides that it's bad. And also, this is a little nitpick. There's a main character. It's a dude who like introduces her to like this home hotel getaway thing. And he's pretty clearly like he does a lot of things that made me think, "Oh, this guy's on the autism spectrum." And then they turn him into like the most vile person alive. So it's like, oh, even because like he's just quirky. Like he makes silly jokes. Sometimes he says the wrong thing and he apologizes. He's very like kind. But then they have to show that, all men are evil. And so in the end, he literally beats her up and steals her car. That
strikes a very specific nerve with me, where it's like, and like maybe I haven't seen this, maybe if I saw it myself, I would disagree on being portrayed, but it's like, I see where you're coming from. That does just strike a very, like, I don't like the sound of that.
I mean, it's just... I just can't believe this is the dude who wrote Ex Machina and Annihilation. They're so, like, profoundly different. It's like... Someone on Letterboxd said that this is, like, the culmination of movies, like, of cinema snobs. No reference there. Like, being like, oh, you didn't get this movie. It's just, an extended metaphor and you have to get the metaphor. It's like the final boss of that because it's not a fucking story. It's just a giant metaphor for something that, isn't that fucking interesting. And, I know I'm like, usually it's a back and forth on this. So what do you guys, I know neither of you have seen it, but what do you guys think about what you have seen about this?
I think that movies with this sort of message and this theme about toxic masculinity and like the negative impacts, sort of like the things that women sort of have to deal with and sort of fear and be afraid of, I think that can be done very well. But the way that you have described it, it sounds like the way that most of these movies sort of, like at least sort of the mainstream movies that try to get this message across, do fumble with it in a very preachy, condescending, and just not at all meaningful way. Like, almost done just to get an audience. Like, to get people to think that it's deeper than it is, and to, like, bring people into the seats and make them feel smart and important for understanding the blatant metaphor that's there.
Yeah, basically. I mean, people were walking out of the theater while I was watching it and didn't come back.
Would you say this movie's particularly dense? And is this like I'm thinking of ending things level, like impenetrable as a story? Because
yes, exactly.
The previews almost made it feel kind of straightforward. Like, here's this girl putting up with this creepy guy. Is it more than...
Nope.
Well, okay.
Something happens at the end. That basically it turns into I'm thinking of ending things like, wow, this is incomprehensible and it's stupid. I know you personally liked I'm thinking of ending things, but that's what I can best compare it to, in that the acting is good, but everything else is just completely dog shit in my opinion.
Sorry.
Oh, no, sorry, you go ahead.
I was going to joke. I was like, I'm a little glad this exists because people were starting to jump down the throat of Last Night in Soho's gender politics, which has some issues, but now I can almost be a little bit like, look at that one over there. Come on, go on. It's a little worse. Go on. It's fine. Let me have mine. Let me have my movie.
Yeah, I mean, they basically, say roughly the same thing, except Last Night in Soho is actually a story, and Men is not. I'm just so kind of disappointed because Alex Garland has always done these, like, presented something new, something interesting that has not just, like, been done a million times. And, like, in Ex Machina, it's not just about, the relationship between man and machine, but it's about how those relationships become too personal and almost kind of, like, romantic. And that's cool. That hasn't really been done in a movie before. And like Annihilation, they're movies about cancer, but they've never presented it as like a cosmic horror entity. And the visuals and, story in that are awesome. But in this, it's just like, hey guys, did you know that men bad? Insert cheers from critics everywhere.
We need to not have. There's the famous joke from BoJack Horseman. Anytime abortion is in the news, is the newscaster going to weigh in on abortion? Here's a panel of 7 white men in bow ties, and these are the men directing this new wave of men bad films.
Yeah,
I think it needs to stop.
No, men do not recommend. It's terrible. And I hope that A24 learns that, you can't just be artistic for the sake of it to make a good movie. You actually have to make good movies to make good movies.
Yeah, at one point during Marcel the show with shoes on.
What'd you say?
I was going to say, at one point during Marcel the Shell with shoes on, he just turns to the camera and says, make sure you have pepper spray with you at all times, because all men are out to get you, by the way. And then it goes back to the rest of the movie.
God, that movie looks so fucking weird.
It's like an old viral thing that Jenny Slate made, and they made it into a whole ass movie. I'm kind of game, honestly.
It looks interesting, I guess.
I'll give it a try. I don't know if I'll necessarily like it, but I kind of my complex is I'm always bitching and moaning about how all movies is the same recently. Then A24 is like, here's a talking shell who's gonna give you an existential crisis. I'm like, okay, I guess I asked for this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I see the trailers, it makes me feel icky, and I can't quite describe why.
He is a chef.
Like, not an icky as in, like, ugh, I feel repulsed. It's just like, I feel kind of terrible watching the trailers.
And my least favorite trailer right now is the Downton Abbey one. I never need to see that fucking commercial again.
Yeah, I didn't know there was, like, a fucking Downtown Abbey, like, cinematic universe going on.
Every person I know who's watched Downton Abbey definitely doesn't anymore.
Huh.
Alright.
Well, can't be worse than men. Anyways, Dav, I'll pass it to you.
Okay. At this point, I only even have one thing to even talk about. Because I think the only, major things I have watched recently have been Everything Everywhere All at Once, Chip 'n Dale, and Multiverse that I really have opinions on. But I do have one thing to give a very massive toast to, and that's Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Hell yes.
Because I finally finished that just this last week. And it is really, really good. Just really good. I wouldn't say I was completely spoiled of this game. Obviously I knew everybody knows about Aerith's death, but I guess my assumption was that happens at the end of the game and then the game ends for some reason.
Oh, so you were caught off guard that she's just totally pulled out of your party.
Yeah, she gets pulled out of the party, and then it's that's the first half of the game.
If you were building her up as a healer, you're fucked.
I mean,
yeah, pretty much.
I love that element. So I'm happy that happened to you, only because it's such a well-known spoiler. It doesn't happen to many people. So to hear you had that experience brings me a lot of joy.
Yeah, I mean, and it's still a very well done death to the point where you still care even if you've known about it since as long as you can remember. But other than that, I mean, just obviously I played the Switch version, so I was using the triple speed and the God mode to kind of just go through the story, because I do think the gameplay has not aged fantastically well. It's not as bad as it could be, but it's there have been a lot of improvements to JRPGs over the years to the point where there's a certain level of expectation about how it handles your time, and this game was released at a time when this was probably the only video game you owned. So
yeah,
I mean that's kind of why it's so you have to explore everything.
Yeah. But just aside from that, the story, the characters, the setting is just fantastic. I really love the world of Final Fantasy VII. Just such cool aesthetics all around. Like Midgar is just such a vibe.
It's truly a masterclass in atmosphere, in that you have these characters who look like little wooden carved toys with their pathetic details and their angular ass limited polygons, and they're just these little like dolls walking around the most harrowing fucking story you can imagine, and paired with that soundtrack too, it is, I think, some of the most godlike just atmosphere and world ever put to a fucking video game.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that One Winged Angel is the best piece of music ever composed.
Oatstar can go fuck himself.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's never been, in my opinion, like, there's never been, especially if you look at it in video games, there's never been a song that's had so much fucking weight to it. Because, like, a lot of JRPG boss themes, it's kind of like uplifting and like, it's like, oh, you're finally fighting back against society. But this one starts with fucking violins portraying your doom with the dun 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 dun. And it's just, I just think it's so, like, it basically covers every single music genre. It's just incredible.
I mean, it says something that when Sephiroth was revealed as a fighter for Smash Brothers, I had not played Final Fantasy VII yet. As soon as those violins kicked in, it only took like two of them playing to be like, oh, that's fucking Sephiroth.
Oh, here we go.
No, as soon as I was watching, I was like, someone slashed Galeem in half. I'm like, oh shit, is that Virgil? But then as soon as it first hit, I'm like, they didn't. What the fuck?
Sephiroth, he's not in the game quite as much as you'd think, but it goes to show how amazingly developed he is, that everyone knows him. One of my favorite pieces is in those big plains that you got to travel across. There's those big ass snakes that are like the bane of your existence for that chunk of the game. You can basically only fucking run from them, and then eventually at some point in the story you find one fucking dead. And it's like, oh, Sephiroth did this and it wasn't even fucking difficult for him. And you're like, oh, this is what we need to fucking fight.
So, Dav, who's your favorite character in it?
Man. Honestly, I think I've got to say Cloud.
Hell yeah. That's a Chad answer.
Because he's such a... Like, he starts off as such a trope, He's just like that, the sort of quiet, too cool for you kind of protagonist, and the I don't care about anything. And the way that just falls apart after Aerith's death and is just completely deconstructed for the rest of the game is so well done. And I think it says something that so many video game protagonists since then, and even anime protagonists since then, have tried to emulate Cloud, and they completely drop the ball on like realizing that his cool guy persona is a front.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, just the sort of twist about like who he really is and stuff is also really cool.
Oh yeah. I have the question that really matters.
Don't say it. High five. Don't do it.
Tifa or Aerith?
Oh, Tifa.
Oh,
I mean, you already know the answer to
that. I was worried we wouldn't be able to talk anymore for a moment, but all right.
Looks like it's 2 against 1, Will.
Wait, no, what? I think Tifa's... No, I choose Tifa fucking too. I just didn't want Tommy to get horny on the podcast again.
Will? I thought you previously said that you chose Aerith, didn't you?
Well,
I never said that.
Sprite, you son of a bitch!
No, I don't like Aerith at all. Like, even... I mean, I think she's, good for the story, but I don't really think she's, like... I don't love her character, even to begin with.
I don't think there's really all that much going on with her. I don't think she's all that interesting. But I mean, Tifa, even aside from just like her design, she's a really good character.
Yeah.
The perfect girl next door type, and with the added caveat, she can kick anybody's ass. It's the best. Mind if I take the wheel?
Sure, yeah.
All
That
right.
should be about all my thoughts on it.
Okay, alrighty. I watched a documentary called Tiny Tim, King for a Day, and I like to toast it. This is about the musician Tiny Tim. You may know him, living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful
Yep.
time, and tiptoe through the tulips. Famous falsetto voice who led a life. It feels wrong to call it fascinating, a bit voyeuristic, but I think he is an important discussion to have within show business because he was a very strange fellow, that Tiny Tim. Where to even begin? So, have you guys seen videos of Tiny Tim performing?
Yeah.
Well,
I think one.
and there's qualities to him, I don't want to be mean about it, but he's a little creepy, and he just has some mannerisms. Okay. So that's the thing, is that I feel Tiny Tim is an important story to recall, because he was like this fairy person who came from another world and was always bottomlessly thankful to be performing, and was always saying, "Thank you for letting me perform and for cheering me on," and he sang in this high falsetto voice. He seemed like no other celebrity, but behind the scenes he was this monster. I don't know, not even behind the scenes, because that is erasing of the fact that he married his 17-year-old wife on the Ed Sullivan Show on live,
Oh, Jesus.
and people just let that happen, which is. But it's because it's Tiny Tim. He's weird. He's the weird falsetto dude. It's a fascinating story that way, and it's like, oh, this guy had an audience once. And at first it was like, oh, maybe it seems like he just doesn't know how to smile for pictures, in that whenever a photo is being taken of him, he looks like he's like roaring. But the documentary's really well made. It's interspersed with hand-drawn depictions of his diary entries, where he like has just these like open-hearted confessions that he feels his soul is like drowning in darkness and things to that effect. Sorry, yeah.
I was just gonna say I looked up a picture of him. Oh my god.
He's got a weird vibe.
It's a creepy fellow. Yeah.
That's just how he would like smile for pictures.
The one I just posted?
I mean, that had to come from somewhere.
Jesus.
Golly.
You should use that face for the fucking thumbnail.
I don't know if I want to scare them off.
Seems like we're willing to forgive celebrities for a lot of things that they should not be forgiven for.
No.
Like Tom Cruise getting horny and jumping on a couch. That
And
was
Jumping on a couch?
You remember the thing where he was on Oprah and like screaming about his wife and jumping on her couch?
Oh, I thought you said jumping on a couch. Like Tom Cruise just kind of like walked into an IKEA and like jumped on a couch, and that's a like unforgivable crime in your
was
mind.
On Oprah's couch, and that's absolutely unforgivable how horny he was that day.
Damn.
Yeah, so upsetting documentary because of the things I mentioned. They talked to his woman he married when she was only 17, and she has a lot to reveal about how it was kind of a loveless marriage. I think it's untoward to speculate people's sexuality, but I simply want to lay out the sequence of events that when Tiny Tim was living with his parents, he brought a man home and proceeded to sleep with him in his parents' house, and he was harshly punished by his parents for it. And when Tiny Tim became famous and powerful, he did nothing but chase women with like a hellbent fervor. So, put that sequence of events together, I think it paints an image of what the demons this guy was struggling with and being driven by.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah. So, hope you enjoyed our funny Chip and Dale talk, 'cause that's Tiny Tim. Will, back to you.
All right. So I guess I'll toast a movie that I watched last night, just kind of out of the blue, and that is My Name is Bruce. So this movie is, it was basically Massive Weight of Unbearable Talent before Massive Weight of Unbearable Talent, and it's about Bruce Campbell. And the deal is there's a town that just kind of adores him, and they unleash a monster. And so they actually get Bruce Campbell, because they're like, they kidnap him, and they're like, oh my god, he was in Evil Dead, he knows how to do this. And Bruce Campbell thinks it's like, everyone is method acting for a movie. And, it was not reviewed well. I think it's better than Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Huh. Sounds like a good concept.
Yeah, because the thing about Bruce Campbell is he's such a cool dude. Like, every story about the guy just paints him as like the coolest guy, someone, who he's got this like electric personality. I've never seen a Bruce Campbell role where he is not just instantly kind of drags the whole audience in. But his friends and people who meet him say he's just a genuine and nice guy that you'd kind of like to just like sit down and have a drink with. So it works so well to have him play like kind of a parody of himself, because in this one he's like, because he's done a lot of B movies, and the movie itself is a B movie. So it works really well in that sense. It ends with Bruce Campbell saying the line, "Well, baby, once you made love to Bruce Campbell, you can never go back." But it's like, okay, first of all, some of the actors don't do a very good job, but Bruce Campbell is so good in it, and the plot is so silly and fun, it just works so well. Big problem I had with Massive Weight is it's this really weird concept that they don't do anything with. Like, it's a fine story, and Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal, everyone's good in it, but it's a very standard story. And Nicolas Cage is always known as this dude who does these eccentric roles in eccentric movies, but it's very based to life. This one, Bruce Campbell is known for doing these weird, wacky horror movies, and the movie itself is a weird, wacky horror movie. And it's really funny. Ted Raimi is in it, and there's some stuff that doesn't age super well regarding that. He does yellowface in this movie. But I mean, I know that's a pretty terrible thing, but putting that aside, it's a really funny movie. Like, there's a moment when Bruce Campbell realizes that like the monster is real, and he just runs away and starts like shooting a gun behind him, and he ends up missing the monster and hitting like 8 of the townsfolk that came with him. And then he's like tries to run, and there's a grandma there, and he's like, "Listen, lady, I need your car." And she's like, "Oh, I'm not sure about this." And he just like takes her and throws her out of the car and just drives off. It's really funny. I'm not quite sure. I think people are like, it was reviewed poorly because they don't get that it's supposed to be like a campy, cheesy movie, because that's Bruce Campbell's vibe. Dab, because I know, Tommy, we've watched all the Evil Dead. Dab, do you have a movie that you know Bruce Campbell from?
I've seen the first Evil Dead.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And the Spider-Man movies, I guess.
Oh, yep. Yeah. He does mention, they're like, Bruce, you gotta prepare yourself. This is a demon from hell. And he just goes, "You think that's bad? You've never worked with Sam Raimi." Which I think is funny because they're very close friends.
They're close friends, and Sam Raimi basically tortured him on the set of 3 Evil Dead movies, making horrid shit happen to him over and over. So I think that's brilliant, kind of.
Yeah. No, it's just one of those movies where you have to understand who Bruce Campbell is and what Bruce Campbell does to fully enjoy it. And I love the guy. I think he's definitely an underrated actor. So this was a ton of fun to me.
Is this better or worse than Bubba Hotep?
I actually like it more than Bubba Hotep.
Mm.
They do mention it a lot. That movie.
Bubba Hotep.
But it's really funny seeing Bruce Campbell like kind of play this parody of himself that's like, this washed up B movie star who's like kind of has become his characters. When Bruce Campbell's like a bit of that, like he's still eccentric and like is really clever, but also is just kind of a nice guy, so it works insanely well.
All right. It strikes me as almost like lower budget ish, which I wonder
Yeah.
if that kind of like you take this concept and put in Nicolas Cage with a big budget, people like fall all over. I guess Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent kind of just farted and disappeared, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I still rated it like a 7 out of 10. I think it's enjoyable, but, I like Nicolas Cage and I like the lore surrounding him, and they didn't really do anything besides make the story Nicolas Cage films a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I would expect I don't think it has to be realistic, Like,
I see.
if you're doing a movie with an actor as himself, you should make it a little bit zany, and that's exactly what they did with My Name is Bruce.
Right. It's a good deal.
Yeah. Dav, we gotta make you see the Evil Dead trilogy. What do you think of the first one?
I liked it. It's been forever since I saw it, but I have heard that shit gets real in the second movie. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Someone made like a fan edit of all the 3 movies spliced together with like because there was like a licensing issue from movie to movie, so they had to like recap each movie from one to another. So they like splice all the movies together with like the inconsistencies cut out. So maybe we should watch that. Anyways, that's my toast of My Name is Bruce, and now I'm going to pass it over to the person who would possibly say My name is Dav.
I might say that at some point. You never know. Okay. So the other thing I have to toast is a little TV show called Close Enough.
I love Close Enough.
Yes, it's
What's that one about?
It's by J.G. Quintel. It's the same guy who made a Regular Show. It's very similar to Regular Show in a lot of ways, but it's instead of having like all like these characters that are like animals and objects and stuff, it's just like supposed to be like the real world. It's just like humans and people being people, but the episodes almost always take on that same format as Regular Show, where shit just gets crazy as it goes on.
Oh, is that the show that like Weird Al Yankovic shows up in as himself and then immediately gets killed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty funny show, honestly.
It's basically Regular Show that grew up with its audience into financially struggling millennials.
Yeah. Just there are obviously plenty of things that I can't relate to in this show, like being married and having a kid, but it covers a lot of things about adulthood that I think are relatable enough even in your 20s that it's still very enjoyable in that sense.
I think my favorite episode so far is the one where Alex is afraid to go to the fucking doctor. And they're just like, because it's a very adult feeling, just not want to be given bad news at the doctor and avoid going, especially when like I haven't like if you've been avoiding it to avoid coronavirus for a year maybe, and just that bad habit developed, and now you're afraid that like, oh god, what's happened since then? So they're just chasing Alex in like a golf cart as he's like throwing up and shitting constantly. And clearly needs to go to the doctor.
Well, I mean, especially like imagine going to the doctor and having the doctor tell you that you have too
But you.
Oh, we got. This is like a side note, but there, I follow the Muhammad Rajib Wali subreddit. And there was a post. His YouTube account posted that he had passed away,
What?
like his official account. But then people realized that someone had sent him that, and he had just posted it on his account because he cannot perfectly read English, so he didn't know what it meant.
He's
So
like,
he
"Yeah,
told
seems
everyone
legit.
he died by accident.
Seems legit." Oh man. Yeah, close enough. It feels a little like regular show too, but I don't necessarily. Regular show is one of my favorite cartoons, so I'd be the last person to really complain about that. And it is kind of a regular show is about slackers on their first job and those relatable problems, and this one is moving into your first house and your first long-term partner and the problems that come with that. I think it pulls it off like really exquisitely. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and it's not like an immensely deep story-driven show. It's very just episodic, just funny, pretty lighthearted, just enjoyable. And I don't know, I really enjoy that.
Totally. Yeah, like I relate to Alex a lot because he's a teacher just like me, and just like the fact that he has to get a second job over his summer vacation. I was like, oh, been there. Yeah, no, yeah, because teacher
Oh,
pays.
you have to get a second job?
I don't, but I have been in positions where I'm like, well, if I sell some blood plasma after working my full-time job, I think I'll be able to make rent. Because, I'm not afraid to say this, despite being one of the hardest working people in this country, our wage is a fucking joke.
Yeah, I mean, I do somewhat relate to the main guy just because because like I worked in IT and he has sort of a similar job to that, and he is living with his wife, and I have lived with my girlfriend before, so I know sort of a lot of the issues that come around that.
I like that they have at the risk, first of all, it's a couple that genuinely likes each other. It's not like a married couple that's constantly like
Yeah.
at each other's throats. They have problems, but they like each other. And then the girl characters are allowed to be just as goofy as the guys too, which I think there's whole episodes focused on Bridget and I can't remember her name, the other one. Josh's wife. Just going out into the woods to write a song, and they run into Weird Al, like you were saying. Whereas I think if the show was even made 10 years ago, it'd be kind of a boys' club thing. I just think it which regular show even kind of was. Like almost every girl character, it took like 8 seasons for any girl character to be on regular show and not be a fucking cardboard cutout.
Yeah, Margaret was not a good character.
Okay, there are some people who are like, Margaret's not perfect, but CJ isn't much better. They can go die in a hole. CJ was done so dirty on that show, and I'll never forgive them.
Yeah. I do think Alex is like the surprise star of this show. He's so funny.
I think my favorite gag in TV recently is the fucking clown bit.
What was that again?
Where they're in a bunch of clowns corner them in the store. Alex is like, they found me! The clowns! And he's like, so, I ran into these clowns and I made a bet with them. And I said, I bet you can't make a balloon animal giraffe. And the clown like lowers his shorts and he like makes it out of his dick. And you can see like the shadow of a balloon animal dog. And he's just like,
Is he like, that's a horse? And then he's like,
"No,
wait for it.
That's just a dog. Wait for it." And he just gets a boner and it extends into a giraffe. And he's like, now I owe them $3,000. It's the fun. I would give anything to be on a fly on the wall for that episode being boarded.
Also, cheers to this show for having a cop landlord and her gay son being genuinely enjoyable characters.
Oh, completely. That gay son dressed up as Solid Snake on Halloween too. He's pretty big.
Yeah, he did. I don't have too much to say about the show because it's there's not a lot to say about it. It's a lot of fun. Just watch it seriously.
Yeah.
That's all.
So I've got one more toast I for sure want to get to. After that, are you guys ready for news, or is there? Because I could go on long. As always, I over prepare, but I feel like we've been at it for, and I've got a lot of news for us to go through. Are we ready for one more topic than news? What do you guys think?
That sounds good to me.
Fine with me.
All right.
Yep, fine with me.
All right. My last toast of the night. I want to praise Sifu. I played through this game. It's fucking awesome.
It looks so good. I really want to get it.
It's Will. Are you familiar with Sifu?
I mean, at first I thought you were just saying seafood, and I'm like, that's nothing new. You love seafood.
Shrimpies and so just me leaning into the mic and saying scallops. No, Sifu is a kung fu game. It's third.
It's a beat 'em up, right?
Kinda. I would say it's almost a cross. It's like a third person cross between Devil May Cry and Punch Out, sort of. You're taking out loads and loads of enemies, but it is all about dodging and finding openings, and it feels amazing. You just, the complaint is that it's hard, and I don't disagree. You do have to, like, trophy data suggests only, 20-something% of players make it past the second boss.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, and I think that is a fucking shame, because it's after that boss battle that you really get ingrained with the mechanics, and they start letting you use them in a way that is really cohesive and really fun. So this is like, it's a straightforward martial arts story. You are a nameless practitioner of martial arts. You're kind of a self in the shoes of the character Avatar, and this kung fu dude murders your dad. So you start the game at age 20. And every time you die, you age however many years, depending on various parameters. Pretty consistently, just one yeel.
One yeel.
Yeah, like you'll die and then you're 21. When you hit age, I think 80, maybe 70. I think 70 actually. When you hit age 70, it's game over. So your goal is to clear all 6
just
stages.
Like real life.
Yeah. Actually. Good thing turning 70 isn't real. Your goal is to kind of clear all 6 stages full of kung fu guys, without turning 70. So
fun.
Yeah. And for such a infamously tough game, I personally cleared the game without turning 70. I think I was 64 when I beat the final boss, so I'm pretty proud of that. Yeah, it's a lot of, even though there's a lot of mechanics and they kind of lead you a certain way, it has an amazing quality in that you can beat characters any way you want. Because, you have your various kung fu moves, you have to do a lot of parrying and dodging, and you can pick up items too. You can just stab someone with a knife that you find, or throw a lamp at them even. And one of my favorite, when I realized, oh, this is something special, was when I clear a stage, and sometimes I'll pick up an item to walk into the next room with, just to be prepared. I happen to pick up a brick. I walk into the next room, and I find just this one lady who's like, she picks up a big old bow staff, and she goes, "Claim your weapon and fight me." And she's clearly gesturing to another bow staff. But I still had the brick in my hand. And I just nailed her in the head with the brick.
That's pretty funny.
And I was just like, "See ya."
So is this for the PS4, Switch?
I played it for PS5. Let me see what else it's for.
Yeah, I thought it was on more than that. I know it's on PC through Epic Games, which is a big shame. It's also on PS4.
Yeah. I wonder if it's Xbox. I guess Xbox isn't germane to us because you don't have an Xbox.
Yeah, I gotta make my way through the first 2 Yakuza games before picking up something different.
Fair.
Dav and I have a running joke because the first 2 Yakuza games are called Kiwami Yakuza, the remake. And so I'd always tell Dav, I'd be like, "Dav, listen, I want to try the first 2 Yakuza games, but I can't find them." And Dav would always be like, "Will, they're called Kiwami." And I'd just be like, "Oh, okay." So anyways, Dav, I tried getting these, but I just found these things called Kiwami. I can't really find them. Can you,
No, you see, you do that ironically now, but at first, and this was legitimately boggling my mind, every time I brought up those games, it was like 3 or 4 times, you would ask, well, where do I play the first 2 Yakuza games at? And I would say every time, Will, it's Kiwami and Kiwami 2. Those are the remakes. Just play those.
well, I mean,
that kind of reminds me of our friend. I don't know if he'd find this mean. Our friend who we were like, "What do you think of Kazuya in Smash?" And he'd be like, "He's all right, but I just don't think they should add more characters from Street Fighter." We tell him over and over that he's not fucking from Street Fighter. And speaking of Street Fighters, the boss fights in this game are super fun because there are always people in mundane locations. Like they each have a title where it's like the botanist, and you hunt him down in his like city garden. You fight another guy in a club, an art museum, a corporate office. Just these mundane locations. But when you're going through most of the game, you're just beating up thugs in those locations with items germane to those settings. When you approach the boss, they always change it in some metaphysical matter. The botanist turns his garden into like a deep jungle. Trees will just start to spout that he's hiding inside. The artist in her art museum basically pulls a York peppermint patty and teleports you to this like blistering mountain. So there are just these like breathtaking set pieces that put most movies to shame. The boss fights in Sifu. You can knock it out in a weekend if you get pretty good at it, like I have, who won it without game over. I think everyone should try it. It is a truly incredible. It's an achievement. It's one of my games of the year so far.
Oh, you hear that, Will? We could probably knock it out in a few hours.
Yeah.
hell yeah.
I feel like there was something else I wanted to. It's like you'll get somewhere. It's like, oh, this game feels like you're playing a movie of this. This game feels like a kung fu movie in that, he kind of has to double tap where it's like you'll knock someone to the floor and basically cave their skull in, and he'll just put in one more just to make sure they stay down. Got this at the CEO corporate building. You walk into a yoga studio in one of the higher floors, and everyone's back is to you, and they're just doing yoga stretches, and the instructor goes, "And now, for our final stretch, I must greet our guest." And everyone in the studio just slowly turns around to you. And they pick up weapons, and you're like, oh, fuck. It's so good. It's so fucking good. I can't recommend it enough.
Sounds good.
All right. News bulletins?
Let's go.
All right. We got announcements for movies based on Streets of Rage and Minecraft.
I actually didn't know that.
I thought the Minecraft movie was announced a while ago.
Well, we recorded a while ago.
Isn't Jason Momoa playing Steve? Jesus Christ.
Perfect for the role. He's perfect.
Yeah. Streets of Rage, that's going to be interesting. I wonder who they'll get to play Axel, because he's got a very specific look. Who are we kidding? It's going to be fucking Tom Holland, I bet.
Sorry, Mr. X, sir. I'm excited for Streets of Rage because if it's something I don't want it to be like Multiverse with Sonic. But if it's made by the same people as Sonic, which are like people who just genuinely like those games, it could be pretty cool.
Yeah, Streets of Rage is my favorite beat 'em up, so I really hope that that ends up being good and it's cast well.
Yeah. Spiderverse Part 2 and the Mario movie have both been delayed.
Yeah, I mean, when I heard that the Mario movie was delayed, I almost just killed myself on the spot.
My grandma was going to come into town for Christmas, but I'm telling her to go home because we can't see Mario.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because wasn't that supposed to come out this summer?
It was this Christmas.
Oh, and it's coming out next summer, right?
I think like April, maybe spring.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, even gods have mercy sometimes.
Yeah. I have no hopes for that movie.
Would you be surprised if it was just shaping to be a total disaster and they were like, we just gotta fucking... Or do you think this is, like, in response to Sonic 2? You know, like...
Someone made a meme and it was like, I don't remember the exact wording, but they insinuated that it got delayed because, like, they saw the Uptown Funk dance scene in Sonic 2 and they're like, shit, we have that in ours, we gotta redo this.
And you're joking, but seeing how people, like, how the genuine, just, like, fan power in Sonic 2 seems to have really propelled that movie, I wonder if Mario is almost going to be a lot more cynical than it's probably still going to be, and they're reeling that in. That's not me saying, oh, I think they're going to fix it completely. It's going to be great. I wonder if they're like, oh, let's actually think about, like, referencing the game here and there. I don't know, you know?
No, they saw Morbius and they're like, Mario has to morb at some point.
It's Morbin time!
I guess Boo could morb, because he's ghosty. That would work. He's got fangs.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it is going to be, like... I think it's going to be the Room of video game movies. Like, I think it's going to be so comically awful that it's going to be entertaining.
Yeah. Figure that. I've got a bulletin here that just... I just wrote the words on my list of new bulletins. Holy shit, Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They lost my subscription.
I've never rooted for a show to fail as hard as Stranger Things 4 after hearing they dumped $30 million fucking dollars into each episode.
I'm just gonna pretend it ended with season 3 because that was a nice enough ending. It doesn't need to go on.
I feel like people give seasons 2 and 3 flack. I kind of like those.
I thought 3 at least was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, it's also a pretty big oof to release it the same day as Obi-Wan, because love or hate that show, it's a sweep.
Yeah.
Like, people have been begging for Obi-Wan for years upon years.
I haven't really seen anyone talking about either one.
I've seen people talking about Obi-Wan. I haven't seen a single person discuss Stranger Things.
Jamie Taco is in it.
Hey, Jamie Taco. Yeah. My puzzle.
One of the issues I think with Stranger Things though is that as far as I can tell, they only released the first 7 episodes, and it's supposed to be like the last 2 or 3 episodes haven't released yet, and they won't until July or something.
They're saying the last episode of the season's going to be 2.5 hours.
Oh my god.
They have a word. There's a word for 2.5-hour TV episodes, and it's fucking movies.
So we can do a different release schedule for Stranger Things, but not for JoJo. I see how it is.
We can cancel the Bone animated series, but, God forbid Big Mouth end.
I will not ever forgive them for canceling Bone. That's such a
I know.
such a loss.
Bone was my favorite. I know I've never discussed it, but that was my favorite series in middle school, and it still holds up. It's really good.
I'd say mine too. I'm collecting the issues of it again, so I'm trying to get all of them so I can actually read the whole story.
Hell yeah!
I see someone saying that their passion project at Netflix got canceled every time I look at Twitter, and I spared you all a discussion of this as far as my toast and roast go. I did watch Netflix's Marmaduke. You think they're using those resources well? I have bad news for you.
No.
Marmaduke. God, it's all movies with M's this year. Marmaduke, Morbius, Mario movie.
There was a Marmaduke movie, right?
There was the Owen Wilson
Yeah.
one, and the live action one. Then this one is the animated Pete Davidson one, and it's the same director who does Garfield's Fun Fest and Garfield Gets Real. So it has that movie that Cartoon Network shows when you're sick at home feeling, and it's fucking terrible.
Oh my god, it was Owen Wilson and George Lopez, and it ended with the most obviously those animated dance scenes are terrible.
Yeah.
Marmaduke probably has the worst animated dance sequence of all time.
And he probably farts, because that's all Marmaduke. He's a big goofy dog.
I guess you guys have that in common, Tommy.
Hey now. I don't fart, I morb.
Yeah, you Morb. He's going Morb.
You guys ready to
You
watch
let
that
off
down?
your Wario steam.
That one just fucking catches me off. Oh man. Ugh. On a lighter note, the Hugh Neutron campaign pays off for Nick All Stars Battle Royale.
Hell
got
yeah.
the- Based as fuck.
Jimmy Neutron is not in the fucking game, but Hugh Neutron is.
I mean, no one wants Jimmy. Everyone only cares about Hugh and Carl from that show.
I probably wouldn't consider Nick All-Stars DLC a big enough deal to note on this, but I do think it's an important thing to remark on how the campaign and roping in his voice actor we bullied them into putting Hugh Neutron into this fucking game.
That's been a pattern lately of bullying game companies into doing things, because Team Fortress 2, like their Twitter account just tweeted for the first time in about 2 years saying, "All right, fine, we'll fix the game."
Everyone wants to have the "they listen to us" clout that Sonic did, for better or worse. And then Jenny and Rocco are there too. Jenny actually does look pretty fun to play. I don't think I'm gonna spend money on that game anymore. I think I've gotten my fill. When Garfield and Shredder came out free, I played as them for a bit, and I'm like, this is all I need. All right.
I mean, it sucks for Jenny and Rocco because they got completely overshadowed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Jenny made some headlines for something.
Oh, yeah.
I think that Zone is probably having the time of his life right now, because like just in the last year it went from the Anka thing to this Jenny thing now, and he's just getting so much attention.
Gross.
Free advertising.
We got a trailer for She-Hulk. Oh boy!
Oh.
Oh man!
It's proof they've learned absolutely nothing about what men want.
Listen, She-Hulk is a cool character in the comics. I like She-Hulk a lot. The fact that she looks like a Jolly Green Giant commercial in this show is heartbreaking.
It's like, come on, Disney. I want an actual 7-foot tall woman to kick my ass. Have you learned nothing from Resident Evil?
Yeah.
Like, don't be afraid to do that. You don't have to CG it.
Apparently she was supposed to be bigger, but they kept giving her notes to make her smaller.
Yeah.
Fucking shit. And the CG just looks really bad.
Yeah, I mean,
Atrocious.
I've heard the Disney Plus Marvel shows have been getting like less views with each show.
Because they're not making any really good ones.
Right.
You know? I mean,
Yeah.
Moon Knight kind of stands out as a good, but like nothing's really blowing anybody away in it. So it's either like it's good or it's flat out awful.
Yeah, I mean, Moon Knight works so well because it didn't try to be like in the Marvel universe. It just was its own story that happened to be about a Marvel character.
Yeah.
And I would argue WandaVision is the only one that's taken advantage of being in a TV format in particular, whereas everything else has been just a movie chopped into bits. That's something She-Hulk, because it's called She-Hulk Attorney at Law. If they make it an episodic thing where she's handling a different court case each week, I could see that being a fresh approach. But they've got work to do, because that trailer was rough.
Yeah, it was very rough. Some people are saying like, "Oh, the CGI will improve." I've never seen anybody ever say that before, and it actually be true.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to have. If I could peace out when Benedict Cumberbatch in Multiverse of Madness was a fully CGI character, I don't think I'm gonna truly enjoy the CGI in the She-Hulk show.
No.
No. We're getting our Rick and Morty anime. Hey, hear me out. I think the best Rick and Morty content has been the kind of guest features that Adult Swim has hosted, as far as anime studios and just like weird fan creations that they've just bolstered. The stop motion stuff by Lee Hardcastle, the anime stuff. I think it's the same ones who do. Man, I forget what it's called. it's something like Summer Meets the Universe or something. It's genuinely kind of good. So with the Rick and Morty cartoon ranging from pretty good to leaving a poor taste in my mouth, I actually do have a pretty good feeling about this.
It could be good. It could be bad. Rick and Morty is a weird thing because it's objectively it has a lot of good stuff going on, but that fan base though, my god.
One sauce, Szechuan sauce.
Remember when Mumkey Jones made that video of like how Szechuan sauce ruined his life, and it was the guy who stood up, and the guy in the interview was like, "Yeah, sometimes people recognize me in public."
Yeah.
He was like, nothing's really changed.
Whatever happened to Mumkey Jones? Is he still around?
He had to change his name because YouTube like banned his original channel because he was talking about Elliot Rodger too much.
Yeah.
So
who's Elliot Rodger?
He did a shooting on his college campus in like 2014 and then killed himself.
Oof.
Because he was like an incel basically, so Mumkey kind of latched onto that because it was just such a fascinating story. So his channel got taken down, and then his girlfriend made a channel in her name, and then he just started using it, and that was like enough of like a legal precedent that YouTube couldn't ban that channel because it technically wasn't his. So now he goes under a different name, and he makes less edgy content now, but I don't know. You'd have to check it out for yourself. It's interesting.
Alrighty. Last thing. The NDA dropped on the alpha for Multiversus, in addition to some new trailers. Serve me up that crow on a big old plate. I am eating it up, because I was so skeptical of this game. Now that we can see actual, not crappily edited gameplay and initial reactions, I am, like, honestly really excited for it. I actually think it looks rather good now.
I think, like... Oh, sorry, were you going to say something, Dev?
I guess I was just going to say that I had worries about it because they said it was going to be free to play, so I mean, I was like, oh, the quality's probably not going to be great, but it looks like it's funded better than the Nicktoons one.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Dude, forget Tom and Jerry, because Tom and Jerry animations are so good, because every attack is Tom trying to hit Jerry and hitting the opponent on accident. So
yeah, they're a collateral damage character.
Yeah.
Pretty cool idea.
It looks so good. Taz looks really great. I'm really looking forward to trying him out.
Ultra Instinct Shaggy looks based as fuck.
Just pulling out those sandwiches. That cinematic trailer too. Oh, it makes me so. For a guy who on the podcast first was like, I don't know, guys. My current desktop wallpaper is the group shot at the end of everybody together. This is what I wanted this to be. I think it's going to be pretty special.
Does it have Sus Fring in it?
Who?
Gustavo.
It took me a minute to remember. So you laugh, but the person who leaked the existence of Multiversus just suggested that a DLC fighter will be Ted Lasso.
Huh. The big problem I have with it is, and this is like I guess it's not a nitpick, but like that it's so focused on 2v2. That's fine. No one likes playing 2v2.
I mean, I don't disagree. Like, I did kind of find myself thinking, well, I'm still gonna squirt into 1v1 a lot. You gotta have a niche. Maybe this will be what kind of sets it apart and makes people like 2v2. I guess you never know. Because if they tailor all these characters to abilities that somehow, form into a 2v2 match and cohese that way, it could be really cool. It could be kind of a new step that way.
Yeah, I guess the big part is, like, I was watching Maximilian watch, like... I was watching Maximilian watch, like, the devs play 2v2. It's impossible to figure out what the fuck is going on. Like, in 1v...
The matches, if you look at Max's alpha gameplay, Max owes us some fucking money for all this. It looks a lot more discernible. I feel like that dev gameplay, I was thinking the same thing. I thought it wasn't very good. But every piece of gameplay I find is it comes out pretty well.
Well, one other thing though about the 2v2 that kind of keeps that from really taking hold is that the more players you have in a match, the worse the network connection is going to be.
That is true.
Like try playing a Smash Ultimate match with a 1v1 versus trying to do like teams or a free for all. It's awful.
That is true. It does make me nervous. Everyone's simping for Velma.
Oh, nothing's changed.
I wanted Kung Fu
I think it's
back.
funny when
Hope she finds
there was like the.
Alright, well, go on.
I was just gonna say there's that like picture where it's like press down and Y to call the cops, and someone just quote tweeted that with white woman super move.
Oh man.
Well, and another news headline I wanted to get out there
Sure.
before we end off here is we just got the trailer, I think dropped yesterday, for Star Wars Jedi 2.
Oh, enlighten us, because I haven't watched it.
So it's really just like a teaser right now. We haven't really seen any gameplay. But the game is called Star Wars Jedi Survivor. It seems like it's going to be like sort of a darker turn from the first game. Because the first game was like very sort of hopeful and like I guess enthusiastic almost. It's kind of happy a little bit. There's some dark moments, but there's always sort of that hopeful vibe to it. This one just seems like it's straight up going to like dark despair.
Yeah.
Everything is terrible sort of thing. It looks really good, and they also confirmed that it's going to be next-gen consoles only, which means it's probably going to be like a really good-looking game.
All right. And this is that Star Wars game you mentioned. One of the last time was Lego Star Wars. Was it the time before that you talked about that first one?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, all right.
It's sort of like the Dark Souls inspired Star Wars game.
Okay. Can you be
Ooh.
a
Very
crab?
story based.
Can you be a crab in it?
Can you be a crab?
Yes.
No. You can kill a
So
crab.
I'll play.
Well, all right then. Yeah, there's no crab game.
I think my joke is there's a new Souls-like where you play as a crab under the sea.
Is it from that Aggro Crab company
Maybe I can't.
that makes all the crab games?
Probably, now that you distinguish it that way.
God damn it, Sherman.
I'll be thinking of what to title this episode. I'm Tommy.
And I'll be trying to find a way to cope with the fact that the Mario movie is delayed, and I'm Will.
And I have already given in despair because the Mario movie has been delayed, and it's never going to be as good as Morbius. I'm Dav.
And it's Morbin time.
Morb.